What's up, people? We here back with another episode. Let's wait for it. What's up, Matt? Just trying to. Hey, can you hear me?
I sure can. Ooh, loud and clear. Mm-hmm.
What's interesting though is that the sound doesn't play from my headphones. Hmm. That's weird. Why does that never work? Because I was trying to have our sound, be better. It could be though. Does it sound different now?
No, not much.
Okay. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like if it's using my headphones as a mic or and then using my phone as a speaker or what. But I was trying to make it to where later on when people replay the video back, like the sound would be good, better.
I think there's more of a delay this time, though.
Is it?
A big one.
Hmm. Okay. On the sound or just everything?
No, just like me talking to you and then you talking back. I feel like there's a longer delay this time.
Hmm. Okay. Can't ever get right, huh? Facebook, get it together.
Facebook
Facebook needs to get
Live is tripping right now. Because it said broadcast interrupted for a second because you disappeared. So when I joined as a
hmm
guest,
hmm
it said broadcast interrupted and you went black. And I'm like,
hmm
where did he go? And then you came back. And then when you came back is now when the delay started.
Okay. Should we go off and then try again? Or
We can go, but are people coming in? Like where everybody at?
yeah,
Anybody?
one of my friends is here now. One of my friends is here, Matt Gordon. Oh, Teresa's here. What's up, Teresa?
We don't have to leave. We'll just be a little bit delayed today.
So now I don't see you delayed though. You see me delayed?
Yeah, like I feel like you when you answer me, it's like a lot more delayed after I'm finished talking.
Mm,
We may be good
okay.
now. Oh no, we may be good now. We may be all right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Teresa said don't go. Laugh out loud. I can't with her. She said don't go.
Right.
Um. So so Brandon and I have been talking. Well, Brandon and I talked yesterday about our topic. So I kind of don't know what Brandon's topic is. No shade, but I'm just saying
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
I will switch it on a minute. Don't worry. Teresa knows I come through in the clutch. That's what happens. I think it's a skill that you got to have as a 42, right? Think about it. When you brief in, commanders and stuff, or if you ever got to give a speech, one of them ones that you didn't prepare for, but it's like, oh, Sir Alan, say something about such and such. Like Teresa knows, I will come through in the
Oh,
clutch.
Teresa says this is Alex. So
Yeah,
Alex, closing
closing
remarks. We
remarks.
as a people need to finish the race.
See? Mm.
Well, I'll cover just my topic, and then when you speak,
Mhm.
then you'll say
Mhm.
what your topic is. Then, so
I
I
put it in the title, and because I try to capture it, because you be having these good titles, and I'm just like, what can I say with a 1-2 punch to just bring it there, you know?
I get it. It's
Well,
fine. It's cool. No, that's what I'm saying. I usually kind of begin. Oh, it's Alex Handsome. Okay,
mhm.
okay. Hey, Alex. So, yeah. I mean, I usually start off anyway with my topic, and then you go after me. So it's fine. It's
Mhm.
cool. It's not like we have to have a topic verbatim, as long as we kind of know what the flow. I'm putting Brandon on blast, but what I do is I call Brandon usually on Saturday, and I let him know what I'm going to be covering because I do a lot of research on my
Mhm.
topic, and I try to grab who the person was that received the interview, and I kind of take notes. So,
Mhm.
and I kind of I create a title based on what I research. So, um, yeah, that's how that goes. So anyway, we're
Mhm.
gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Vibe Show. We're very happy to have you all on that have come on. So I'll be discussing my topic. My topic is the morality of good deeds. This topic really is a somewhat of a continuation, not a I won't say continuation, but it's a enhancement to what I talked about last week, which was moral choice versus logic. But I'm going to be delving a little bit deeper into the morality portion of basically the talk. So
Mhm.
I want to go ahead and talk about a doctor that I did my research on. The doctor's name is Dr. Laline Onick. I hope I'm saying her name right. She is an assistant professor of business administration at the University of Virginia.
Mhm.
And one thing that she pointed out, so I'm going to be kind of covering like three things. I'm going to kind of cover an example she utilized. I'm going to cover a story from another professor. And then I'm going to close it off with um, a actual civilian that did some research on Dr. Singer, who I spoke about last week, and that's
Mhm.
going to tie into my discussion about the protest and what the protests have really meant. And we all know what the protests mean, but based upon the story that I provide about the civilian that did his research on Dr. Singer, which is who I spoke about last week, it is going to
Mhm.
tie into what the protests and the understanding of why all Americans need to be coming together. So I kind of just wanted to sum that up for you all. So Dr. Onick from University of Georgia, she made a statement that was really interesting. Her statement was, "People want to be treated uniquely," and I'm gonna explain what that means.
Mhm.
So the example she provided was a birthday message. So I want you all to think about, and like I said, please provide your comments on this, and please provide your your take on it. So she used the birthday message example, and Brandon, of course, you can like chime in.
Okay.
So the example she provided was your partner is your birthday. So let's say it's your birthday today, um,
Mhm.
and the birthday message your partner writes to you on Facebook is a long, heartfelt, beautiful message, and it's like so sweet, right? But in addition to that, anytime it's another friend of his birthday, they do the exact same thing. They send a long, heartfelt message to everybody. So not just you receiving the heartfelt long message, but everybody else is receiving it as well.
Mm.
So what she diagnosed with that is that when you as a partner, hey Cody, I see Cody's on. What what people think about is that when your partner sends you a heartfelt message, it means a lot to you. But when your partner is also sending long and heartfelt messages to other people, what do you all think? Do you all think it has less value? It doesn't really mean as much? And like I said, you can answer the question in the comments, but I'm gonna get somewhere. So your partner is sending everybody long messages, not just you as the significant other, but everybody else is getting the same thing. So
Mm.
so the doctor says that typically in your mind you would only want just a one liner, like, just happy birthday. Just send me a message saying happy birthday.
Mm.
Because, and she said the reason for that is because although the heartfelt message reaches more people, as a partner, as yourself, when you think about it, you feel like it holds less value because everybody else is getting the same thing. So it's kind of like,
Mm.
well, why is it? So in my mind, I would want to be receiving the same kind of message that all my friends are receiving. Oh, I see Senior Gunkles on. He's my instructor for EO school. Hey. So with that, I was thinking like, man, do we feel some kind of way when like our partner sends us a message and it's heartfelt, but then we see him or her doing the same thing with other people? So
It
what she
depends. It
yeah, go
depend?
ahead.
I've been thinking this whole time, is the message, even if it's long, it's heartfelt, is it tailored specifically to the person, or is it just a blanket message? Can you
No,
clarify
it's
that?
tailored to the person though. But what the doctor is saying is it's long. So everybody gets their own separate long heartfelt message. So it's not a blanket message that goes to everybody. It's long and heartfelt, but it applies to that person. So that's what she's meaning. But the message she's trying to say is that typically folks would feel like their message doesn't hold much value because you're sending everybody
Mm.
a long heartfelt message. But if I'm your partner, I would want you to be treating me special. I'm the one. I'm your boo. This is you, my boo. And I don't want my boo to be sending me a long heartfelt message. And then on social media, because when you think about social media, when you think about Facebook, and you're sending these messages to me and then everybody else and it's long and heartfelt. It's like, well, sure, my message don't mean nothing that you sent to me because you're doing it with everybody else. And it's all because everybody else that's your friend can see that message. So when you think about it, it's like everybody else can see it. But I'm gonna flip it on you real quick. So the doctor says, but if your partner sends only you a Facebook message that's long saying happy birthday and sends a one-liner to everybody else, then my message holds more value because my baby, my boo, sent me this beautiful long message, but he's only sending one-liners to everybody else.
Okay.
So that long heartfelt message meant more to you because it's like, okay, my baby sent me a very
Mm.
like a very detailed, long, heartfelt message, but only sent one-liners to everybody else. So
Mm.
basically, her the all in all that she mentioned is that the impulse to give special treatment to the individuals you love and hold dear to your heart may have some terrible moral consequences.
Mm.
What do you think that means, Brandon? What do you think that means when you say that if you give special treatment to a certain group of people, it could have moral consequences? Now, you can kind of take out the birthday example, but really think about that because at the end of the day, what she's basically really trying to say is that treating everybody the same may have more impact because you're impacting more people.
Okay.
But typically, when we look at life and when we look at things, we're like, well, shoot, if I'm your husband or wife, or if I'm your spouse and you're sending me a message, why do you got to send somebody that you barely know the same kind of message?
Mm.
Because when you think about it, that's what, and this is going to tie into the protest. I'm going to get there, but
Yeah.
and what the protest are really trying to say when it comes to Black Lives Matter and all of that. But I'm trying to get y'all to see the difference between getting special treatment, like it's like that kind of like that VIP level treatment versus just blanket everybody getting the same treatment. If everybody gets the same treatment, then no one will feel like they're discriminated against. Nobody's going to feel like they're separated or that they're not included. So that's where I'm going with this whole the morality of a good deed. Because if I do a good deed for you, Brandon, if I send you a message that's heartfelt, but then I send somebody else, oh, happy birthday. Well, dang. Well,
Yeah.
I just saw you send Brandon this long. I didn't get that.
Mm.
So is that fair? So the
Mm.
morality piece, that's where I'm going. So now I'm going to tie it into another story that is very good. And this story comes from a doctor. This is another doctor. Her name is Dr. Kaplan, and she's currently at Northeastern University. And this is a story that she remembers Like, and this happened back in the 80s. So back in the 80s, it was Dr. Kaplan and another doctor that were teaching at Yale University. They were the very first set of females to teach and be a professor at Yale. So
Mm.
they're pretty well known,
Mhm.
right? So um, one night, Dr. Kaplan was at home washing dishes, doing her thing, washing dishes, and she was washing a glass bowl. And when she washed the glass bowl, she lost her grip on the glass bowl and it shattered. She dropped it and it shattered, and it basically and she lost her grip, and it cut her from the middle of her palm all the way up her wrist. Like it was a big, long, like kind of like,
Mm.
and I mean, blood was everywhere, basically, right? So what happened was her husband took her to the ER, right? So when the husband took her to the ER, she ran into a medical doctor, and what she was emphasizing to this doctor was that I'm a quilter. And if y'all don't know what a quilter is, it's basically a person that specializes in, like, quilts and blankets and basically stuff that you wear, right? So now, what's interesting in this is that she did not say that she was a professor at a university. So she emphasized that she was a quilter because on her personal time, when she wasn't teaching, she spent a lot of time doing quilts and making quilts. So she only said, "Hey, I want my nerves and my sensitivity to come back in my hand because I love to quilt. I'm a quilter."
Mhm.
Now, 5 minutes later, a volunteer at the hospital walked past her and said, "Oh my gosh, Professor, what are you doing here?" And so the medical doctor looked and said, "Wait a minute, you're a professor?" And so Dr. Kaplan was like, "Yes, I am." Do y'all know what happened right after that? Right after that, that medical doctor in the ER found out that she was a doctor as well, but she was a doctor of education. They took this Dr. Kaplan, this female, all the way to another part of the hospital, you all. And you want to know what else? That medical doctor in the ER took her to the best hand specialist in the country. She was in New England.
Mm.
I'm talking about took her out of the ER, took her just out. And so she was grateful. She was grateful that she got this VIP treatment that I stated earlier, but she was shocked because she was like, I was getting very good treatment from the ER doctor in that way, but she got elevated treatment because she was a professor. So so if I'm gonna flip this. If the story was about race, we would have all assumed discrimination because think about those other folks in that ER that it was not getting that treatment.
Yeah.
But once they found out that she was a professor at a university, they was quick. Oh no, we got to send her to the best head specialist in the country. So
Mm-hmm.
so that story basically tells us that there could be instances where there's information that's withheld, and being that she was given great treatment in the ER, but it elevated to receive VIP treatment. So I want you all to think about the ones that were not in the ER that didn't know about that treatment.
Yeah.
Because the ones that were in there were like, "Oh my God, that's not fair." But the folks that didn't know about it, they're still feeling like they're receiving the same treatment. But actually, based
Mm-hmm.
upon her profession, she got the good treatment. So what the doctor made the statement, she made a statement saying the medical doctor felt good that they helped out a fellow person that is a doctor, but didn't realize that basically that could be a form of discrimination due to others not getting the same treatment.
Okay.
So a statement she made, and I want us to talk about this. I see Alex came back on his own account. But the statement says that she made was favoritism can tend to fly under the radar despite having serious moral consequences. And
Mm-hmm.
what that means is favoritism, and I want us to talk about this. Favoritism is actually an unnoticed form of discrimination.
Mm.
It goes unnoticed. So when you play favorites, and that's what that medical doctor did that was in the ER, based upon her affiliation being a doctor, he was quick to take care of her and send her off.
Mm-hmm.
That's showing favoritism. So how do y'all feel about that? Do y'all feel that favoritism is an unnoticed form of discrimination? It goes unnoticed a lot of times because those individuals that were not in the ER at the time, that doesn't even know about the VIP treatment, they don't even know that it happened. So that's an unnoticed form of discrimination because you just gave this doctor, this
Yep.
doctor in education, she's
Yep.
a she's a professor. You gave her special treatment.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that considered right? No. So I want to move on to a question for y'all. What would happen if we were all treated the exact same? And the reason why I asked that question is now I'm going to be speaking about the professor. I mean, I'm
Okay.
sorry, not the professor, but I'm going to be speaking about the civilian that I told y'all about. His name is Dylan Matthews. And Dylan Matthews has created a way to override favoritism and to remain neutral. And he has the ability to look at everything in the, like I said last week, logically, taking
Mm.
the moral part out of it and looking at things logically, right? So, um, and what Dylan believes in, and I wrote it down here, he he does the most possible for the good of others, which means altruism. Do you all know what altruism is? So
Mhm.
altruism is using evidence and reason rather than doing what feels good or what is intuitively appealing. So that's how Dylan operates, y'all. Like he operates solely based on doing good for others. He doesn't look at how close that he is to that person. So if it's a mother, father, neighbor, if it's someone that is across the world, everybody is treated the exact same. There is not one level that one person that's treated better than the other. I see Joey's online. Hey, Joey. So what I want to talk about now is I'm going to tie in the protest with his story. So one of the statements he made was, if you want to maximize on the happiness of the world, you have to treat everyone the exact same way, regardless to if you are family with
Mm.
them, you're friends with them, your next door neighbor, or someone that is from another part of the world. And I think that is so profound because a lot
Mhm.
of us, I'm guilty of it. I'm not the one really to be treating a whole stranger the exact same way I'm going to treat somebody that's in my family or treat somebody that's my friend. But I'm going to tie it to the protest in just a moment.
Okay.
So what Dylan does is that Dylan takes the time to donate to charities that benefit multiple groups of people and not just one set of individuals. So so I thought that was profound because he tries to donate and to charities that involve a wide array of people, because you know that there are charities that only gear towards HIV, or there's only ones that gear towards kidney and liver failure and heart failure, Red Cross, all these things but he wants to ensure that he's donating to charities that help a wide variety of people. He doesn't believe in just donating to charities that only help a small portion of people, because he feels like his money is not being distributed in a way that's going to benefit a multitude of people. So what he decided to do, and I'm going to read Alex's comment. It says, a lot
Mhm.
of folks would not be around because, like Jane Elliott said, if white folk want us to be treated the way black folks are treated, keep your hand raised. Not one hand was raised. And he said, I said that, and that Andre asked if everyone should be treated equally. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
So a story he provided to and during the interview was that he decided to voluntarily give away his kidney to a complete stranger,
Okay.
and it was an elective surgery he decided to do, and his wife had an issue with it, and his wife was in the interview and was like, I do not feel comfortable with the fact that my husband is giving a kidney to a complete stranger. But then the question was asked, would you feel the same way if it was given to your father?
Mm.
And then she was like, oh shoot, uh
Mm.
actually I probably wouldn't have an issue because I know that person. So what Dylan is basically trying to say is that no, I'm impacting someone else's life. So it doesn't matter who it is. I'm ensuring that I'm treating everybody the same. So if I'm going to be giving my kid, if I'm quick to give a kidney to somebody I know personally, then I should be quick to give it to somebody that I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. I'm going to tie it into the protest. I'm getting there. Okay. So he was received. He received an award for giving a kidney, and it was given to him by the National Kidney Registry. And I'm going to tie this into the protest because I think a lot of people are not understanding the whole Black Lives Matter. And I know the folks that are watching right now, I know that you all understand for the most part what Black Lives Matter really means. But in reference to this whole story, what Dylan was saying is that with Black Lives Matter, y'all, what we are trying to say is that Black Lives Matter because of the fact that we are included in all lives. So a lot of people are saying all lives matter. Absolutely. All lives do matter. They
Mm-hmm.
do. They matter. What the Black Lives Matter movement is saying is that, hey, we want to be included in that. We do not feel included in all lives matter. So we have to emphasize that Black Lives Matter. And in reference to the story about Dylan, he is basically saying that, hey, I'm not going to sit here and treat my family one way, but treat a stranger completely different. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing that. And it's tying into what these protests are really about. It's saying, hey, we all matter, absolutely, but we cannot forget about the Black lives. So I hope
Mm-hmm.
that that helped you all. I hope that that can bring awareness to what Black Lives Matter is really doing and really talking about. Because what what Dylan is basically saying is that, hey, y'all, we can maximize on the greatness of the world if we treat everybody equally. Because what I'm noticing on social media, and I know that a lot of you all are seeing it, there's a lot of divisiveness going on. There's a lot of divisiveness going on when it comes to, you know, a person that's not of melanated skin that is talking about one thing, and then you have the minorities talking about a separate thing. But it's very easy to come together and have a collective conversation. And I feel that that is important. I feel that that is important. And until we get to a place where we can know that we're all the same, we may have different skin tones, we may be from different race and ethnic backgrounds, but we're all the same. We're all, like Brandon said, I think last week, we're all a human race. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where this interview really touched me because I'm like, wow, like I'm even guilty of, yeah, I'm going to show more care to someone that I know personally because there is a connection there. But there needs to be an emphasis on, no, everyone's going to be treated the same. Because in my own opinion, I feel like there wouldn't be as much violence in the world if we were all just treating each other the same. There wouldn't be anybody murdering people. And I'm not even going to go into the names of who has been murdered because you all know who they are. But I feel that if everybody had that same thought process and said, you know what, regardless of the color of your skin or regardless of who you are, what race you are, we're all treated the same. And I'm not going to look at you any differently. But we're not there. I mean, for the most part, yes, we are. But those few folks, because I'll be honest with you all, the media does over they talk about a lot of the terrible things that's going on, but there's a lot of good going on that goes unreported. So I just want to say that we I want us all to work together in
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that everyone is treated the same. And I feel that if everyone is treated the same, the morality of good deeds, which is my topic, will be easier to handle and deal with and grow
Yeah.
from.
I agree.
So
And I think one of the easiest ways that I was thinking the entire time, processing everything. And one of the ways that I do that for me is when I look at another human, even being a leader in the military, like I'm appalled at some of the things that I see and some of the ways that people treat one another because I'm like, you're a father, you have a son, you have a daughter, you have a wife. You know what I'm saying? Like how that's for me my moral compass on how I treat other human beings. I can't say I'm at the place of extending the same love and kindness to everyone the same way I would my family, but I do look at it from a human basic perspective that everybody deserves dignity and respect. And like I would help somebody. You know what I'm saying? If I saw somebody in need, I would help somebody. I would think about their condition, and it's something that I think um, it's not enough just to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist, being anti-prejudice, being anti-discriminatory, and being a person who stands up for other people and defending their right to dignity and respect, regardless of their differences or how they look or whatever. And so that's something that I do. I look at a human like as being in relation to me, like that's my brother over there, or that's my sister over there, and being a person who, the other day I woke up and it was crazy because I had this dream that a politician was assassinated, like point blank. And I woke up and I said it out loud because it was a very powerful and a very real dream, but I don't know who it was or where it happened per se. I just remember what the room looked like. It was like wood everywhere. But then, like an hour or two later, like I had another vision, but this time it was just words. And that vision was, and those words were, the most powerful thing a human can do is to restore dignity and respect to another human being. It's the most powerful thing we can do. The most powerful thing we could do. If you think about it, when you leave, see, okay, nobody's gonna, it's funny that Candace Owens tried to bring up George Floyd, his record, his criminal past, and all that, right? It's interesting. That's the pattern that we always see. But guess what? It's not his living that people are going to remember him by. Why are people going to remember him? In the way that he died.
In the way that he died, and the way he was killed.
So now all around the world, people are protesting for his dignity and respect to be restored through what? Justice. And see, people can't even like justice is a spiritual thing, and we get this mixed up, and we try to pick sides. But in justice, there is no side. There either is justice or there isn't. The family, um, the family of the predator, the family of the murderer needs justice so they can deal and feel the pain of what their family member caused, and the victim's family needs justice so they can feel that the when justice is served, forgiveness can happen and healing can happen for everyone. That is restoring dignity and human respect. That's when we can come back to love one another and treat one another equally. I think as long as there's injustice, that really incapacitates our ability to uh, have healing and not pray for the judgment and downfall of our enemies, right? Like, you
Hmm.
know, justice is not served when unrighteous deeds go unpunished. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And so I've been thinking about, since you're talking about the morality of good deeds, and I was wondering the whole time I was thinking about what is Dylan Matthews' foundation? Like, is it science? Is it faith? Is he a believer in God? Like, what is his foundation that led him to be a person who's like, I'm going to treat everyone equally? Where did that come from?
He didn't even say, so he didn't say his religious background or what he believed in. I think for him, he listened to Dr. Peter Singer, the one that I talked about last week, about moral choice versus logic. And what he did, he read like, I think Dr. Singer has like 8 books, and he read like, I think like 4 or 5 of them. And he's a moral philosopher. So for him, he was like, wow, if I
Mm,
treated everybody the same, or if I impact, Dylan is basically like Dr. Singer in the way of saying, I want to impact more people. If I impact a small amount of people, I leave a bigger group hanging.
mm,
So in Dylan's mind, he's saying, wait a minute, I don't want to be like that anymore. I got to ensure that what the choices that I make are going to impact a multitude of people. I don't want to just impact the most small little group subgroups. I want to impact bigger groups, and that is what that is the cry of the allies and the Black community is saying in the Black Lives Matter, is that everybody matters, absolutely, but we cannot forget the Black lives. We can't forget about those.
right.
So what he said, because that includes everybody. That's where inclusivity comes in, because everybody's included in this.
Yeah.
So and of course that does mean getting rid of the crooked cops and stuff like that. It does, absolutely, because not all cops are crooked and all that. I understand that. But what Dylan is basically saying, like, and like I said, I don't know his religious preference or what his faith is, but he's just basically saying, I cannot live my life
Mm-hmm.
only treating my family and friends one way, but then I ain't got no care for my neighbor or someone that's from another country. And he also mentioned, so the interviewer basically said, okay, well, what if you were on a train? What if you were crossing the train tracks, and as you crossed over, there were five people. There were five people, and then you have one person you know. So you have five people that you don't know and one person that you know. Who
Mm-hmm.
are you willing to save? Are you
Mm-hmm.
willing to save your wife, or are you willing to save the five people? And do you know what his answer was?
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm willing to save the five people. I'm sorry. Because although I love my wife and I love her dearly, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that the more people that are alive from this, the better. Now, mind you, my love for my wife, I'll be crushed and I will be sad that she's gone. But I would be, if I had to choose between saving five people versus one person, he said, as much as I love my wife, I'm saving those five people.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I am. And so that was profound because I'm thinking like, dang, that's your wife. And you say you're willing to let your wife die? It's like, well, I mean, my love for her will never go away. I still love her, but the morality, the morality through choice, which is
Mm-hmm.
the logic behind it, he's saying, no, I'm gonna save those five people. Because guess
Yeah.
what? That's more lives that are still alive.
Yeah. That
And
kind
that's
of
deep to me.
that's very deep. I kind of had a similar experience that I shared on another live. Remember with the George Floyd situation and how I had like a I think we did a pop up and how I had this an awakening within myself and how God literally let me feel the Most High let me feel what it would have been like to be there and not do anything. So much so to the point where it changed me on the inside and I became emotional. And I think I talked to you about it. I talked to my husband about it. And I was like, I would do something even if it cost my life. And then, but on the other side, I thought, like, what if four people, however many people were there at the scene, what if four people charged the cops? I'm not advocating for violence. What I'm saying is just simply get him off of the back of his neck. What, so all four people could have been killed potentially, but also maybe George Floyd still would be alive today. Maybe everyone would have been alive. Maybe that would have been the catalyst to change the moment, and we'll never know, right? But what I took from it is that basically the awakening that you're trying to bring right now that you know life is precious and every human is deserving of dignity and respect. And God created us and breathed the breath of life into us, to each one of us, every day we have life on this earth to restore that dignity and humanity to one another. And when we do that, I wish people would understand, anybody who says they're a believer in the Most High, that when we treat one another with love, dignity, and respect parallel, that perpendicular, we're doing that to Him because He said to the least of these, and it's a sort of like tying in to my topic. And
Well, I wanna add one more statement to what you just said. So what I want to say in reference to your example, that is saving that when saving George Floyd's life,
Mhm,
yes, having people jump on that's a separate situation than when you have. So in Dylan's case, he's all about saving more lives. So he's not trying to. It's not about him not jumping in to save George Floyd, because that's a totally separate like scenario. But in his mind, he's just basically saying more. The more that we save a life, the
mhm,
flip it for Dylan. So if Dylan was there, Dylan would probably be trying to get more people involved in saving George's life because that's a
yeah,
life saved
yeah,
versus being flipped where there's a train coming and I got the choice to save five people versus one person. There's more life that's going to be living. So I don't want to compare those two because no, at the end of the day, I feel that if Dylan saw that, and I'm not speaking for Dylan, but if Dylan saw that, he would be like, let's get everybody involved because we need to save,
yeah,
like, we need to save this life right here because
You and
I
Henry
mean,
though.
am I out? And I see him risking his life. I see Dylan the way that he's thinking about maximizing on the the logical choices and the looking at the reason,
Hmm.
the evidence and the reason. I see him risking his life probably to save George Floyd. Probably if it was him, like we gotta, and probably trying to bring more people in. Like we can't do this. Like you can shoot me, but you're not gonna take this life from
That's what
him.
I said before listening. I said that 4 people got involved. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, yeah, yeah.
but and what I was trying to get at is just the basic foundation. Like, remember, because I was saying earlier, like, where did he get this foundation from? Did he get it from science? Did he get it from believing in creationism? Did he get it from religion, God, Buddhism? Where did he get this? This
He may not. He may be an atheist, though. He may be like, I'm just trying to use reason and evidence to save a life. I'm not really looking at how close I may be to that person. He's looking at it like, no, there's more lives saved. I'm going to save more lives. So it doesn't
Sam,
necessarily have to be.
it doesn't have to be religious, but I'm just asking, like, what is his found? I was just wondering the entire time, like,
I
what
don't
is his,
know.
like, how did this awakening happen? Because obviously it's something, and maybe it was just from reading Dr. Singer's research. But what I was saying is, at the basic foundation level, in having idea of restoring dignity and respect to another human means that you will act is what I'm getting at. And so he just so it just takes it another level. But that's why I said, even if I got 4 people together, because that is the same, like that's the same example, and I feel like it's one. If we think about it that way, that does touch everyone. That is what's in the news right now. And there was another killing in Atlanta.
Yeah, there's another one.
And so when I think with the George Floyd situation, you know, people coming together to save a life could have potentially saved others' lives, because this is something I didn't say, but that I think about the traumatic experience of seeing somebody lose their life and not doing anything. That's another weight, another level of the fact that if you were there and you didn't act, and like the trauma of living with the fact that you didn't do anything, that could also potentially harm other people's lives that are connected to that person. So if I was there, I didn't do anything, I experienced that trauma, and now I'm on substance abuse. Now I'm in traumatic events. So now I've affected more lives, when if I would have attempted to save this one, or say, come on, y'all, let's save this man's life, you know? And I
Yeah.
think I think this is a you did an excellent job, and I think this ties into navigating Egypt, because what I wanted to say is, like, we're not the first, and I've been praying, like I probably done changed my topic or articulated it like 4 different ways. Like, navigating Egypt is, I think what I'm saying within that is the fact that we're not the first people to live during wicked times. We're
No.
not the first people to live during times of oppression. We're not the first people. When we look at history, when we go all the way back to where we all came from Abraham, then to Moses. Moses was hidden. Some of us have been hidden, and we haven't experienced maybe discrimination directly or prejudice directly. Some of us have been hidden from these horrible things that are happening in the world, but our response to them is what we can control. Our response now, as they're happening, is what we can control. And that's another way we can apply the morality of good deeds, by restoring dignity and respect, and listening to people who have had those different experiences than us. Because I like, generally speaking, um, white Americans have a different uh, interaction with police officers. Not always. They too have experienced police brutality. But generally speaking, the opinions may be different from the experience. But should I deny your experience, and should you deny mine? I would think not. And navigating Egypt, earlier this week, the thought came to my mind, like the Holy Spirit was working out some things in me, like now's not the time to be following the pack. Who determines? So in the idea of the morality of good deeds, who determines what is good and who determines what is evil? Because so let me give more of a clarification to this. So people talked about The police murder, I'm gonna call it murder. I believe it was murder. Uh, Rashad at the Wendy's, at the hands of police, that was murder. The situation was different. So I've noticed people online highlight, okay, the situation is different. Like, what do y'all think about this? And like to me, my answer was specifically murder. Is running from the cops um, a crime of capital punishment in the court of law? Is a police officer, and like the best
Because
way I
they
think
shot
he
him in the back, right?
did when he was running away.
Just
And
running
so,
away. Hmm.
from more perspective, I feel like the best way that we can educate and teach one another nowadays is to ask questions, like you did, talking about the morality of good deeds. And my question to you is, if a man, if we got into a tussle and we was out in public, and let's say I stole your taser, and I'm running away from you, or I stole your wallet, if you shoot me in my back while I'm running away, is that murder?
If they're dead, yes,
That's murder.
yeah.
You stole
I
from me.
mean, it. Mhm.
You stole from me, but does that justify me killing you while you're evading? You're running away. I can buy a new wallet. He can get a new taser. But you know what? I think maybe within himself, he felt like he lost his dignity and respect in front of a line of cars in the drive-through at the Wendy's. Like,
How
what
come he
was the,
didn't shoot him in the leg? Could he have shot him in the leg, the arm,
and I guess I
the
feel
buttocks? I don't know. Like, there's so many different areas you could have shot this man, but you shot him in the back.
they need to shoot him in the midst of everything going on. You got his ID. You have his car. You can get him later. Was he is he the leader of a cartel? Is
I
he
don't know. I mean, but that's the thing, and a lot of people are saying, well, he was resisting arrest. Wasn't it something about him resisting arrest? I guess resisting arrest is running. I guess when
so well
you're
he got
running
his
from the.
tussle. So this is what I know about um, the limited knowledge I have, and I just watched the video. And in the video, basically, he fell asleep. Maybe he was drunk. I'm not sure. But he fell asleep in the middle of the drive-through, and so Wendy's, I guess, had called the cops. Um, so the police are like trying to wake him up, and they try to ask him, to move over to the side. Um, and then he falls back asleep. And then so they find he goes and the officer goes and wakes him up again. And then he pulls off to the side. They're talking. It's pretty calm and he's pretty cooperative. They do the breathalyzer and then they go to put him in handcuffs and he runs. And then so another and in between all of this, another officer had come to do the breathalyzer. So then a tussle ensues and then they're on the ground. And then like the officer's on top of him and then he's like I don't know, I guess he was strong or whatever, but he gets on top of the cop. Then the cop goes to pull the taser. When he gets the taser out, Rashad grabs the taser and basically um, proceeds to start running away. Then, so he's running in the middle of the drive-through parking lot. It's a line of cars in the drive-through parking lot. And he turns back, and I don't know if he shoots the taser or not, but it looks like he attempts to. And while he's still running, and that's when the officer shot him 3 times while he was running away. What's interesting to me is the fact that we have to ask, like, why did he shoot him in the first place? When you have access to this person, like, is it that? And why do they have to go to that? If cops are to protect and serve, we know we have friends of other races, and we know there are people who have been given a chance. Why couldn't they just give him a ride home? He was sleeping in his car. Technically, he wasn't driving, so it's not a DUI. I don't know. Well, it could be depending on the state. But why couldn't they just help the man home? Like he was cooperative in the midst of everything going on right now. You, he felt it was a good idea to shoot this man 3 times in the midst of everything going on right now. When we have seen video after video where it's a white armed person with a knife or a gun or somebody steal a police car and yet they get murdered. I'm sort of getting off my topic,
How
but I'm
many times was he shot?
three.
Did you say?
I think it was three, and he died. And they started to do they did start to do life saving techniques. He died,
But don't
And
they do? Well, I mean, and not to interrupt you, but like, don't they? Don't doesn't a normal person fall if they get just shot once? Like, I mean, if you think about like where you shoot them, I mean, I'm not saying that he should have got shot anyway. I'm not saying that, but like, I'm trying to think like, okay, you shoot him, but like three times in the back,
you know what I forgot to
like,
say? You know what the officer said? This is what the officer said. He said three words. I got him. He said, I got him. I feel like there was a little bit of pride or ego involved that this man overpowered both of these officers and he was running away, and the audience was the line of the people in the drive-through. And I just think it's just really uncalled for. And I don't think there's any amount of training that's going to help this situation. I think the only thing that's going to help this situation is for officers to be charged and convicted of murder. This was a murder. He was running away. The officer cannot say he feared for his life. He,
right? Because if he was running and then the taser, because you said that he turned around with the taser to try to act like he was gonna shoot it or something. Because it doesn't the taser have a certain like
I think so.
distance to where it won't work.
Yes.
So like the taser's not going to work after so many feet. So like I'm just trying to wrap my mind around why this person got murdered
Right.
and got shot at.
Yes. And so my point is in this, how this relates to navigating Egypt is there's things happening in the spiritual realm, whether you're a believer in God or not, whether you believe in a higher power or not. What's happening right now is we are in Egypt. Egypt stands for everything that would exalt itself above God. That's the best way to define what Egypt is. And Egypt is a place where they call evil good and good evil. For example, there are people who would look at that video and say that's a justified killing because he didn't comply. But how? How is not
So
complying?
because he didn't comply, do you know how many? I mean, do you know how many folks do not comply and they're not killed and
Right.
murdered?
Yes.
There's a
Uh,
bunch of people that do not comply.
so in navigating Egypt, so Moses was in Egypt, right? In Exodus chapter 2, Moses saw one of the Hebrew countrymen getting whooped up on. Like this Egyptian was just beating this Israeli down. We know that the Israelites in the Bible were in captivity, they were in slavery in Egypt. But there was a certain level of care that they had. Um, and there was a certain level of life that they had even as slaves. We know they ate good, you know, they showed up to ate good, even in slavery. And we know that God was blessing them within slavery. They still multiplied. And the Egyptians became fearful of them and dreaded their existence, that they would overpopulate and overtake them. You see what I'm saying? Hey, this is so deep. So he saw the Egyptians beating on the Israelite Hebrew countrymen. And what did Moses do? Moses Moses killed the man. I don't mean to laugh, but Moses killed the man. He reared back and killed the man. Then, a few verses later, you find out that the Israelites basically told on Moses. So Moses went on the run for 40 years because Pharaoh sought to kill him. And so think about that. A person, think about how damaged people are because, I'm just going to be real. There are black people who I've seen who have said this situation is different and it was a justified killing. For any human, in my opinion, to say it's a justified killing to murder this person over running away from the cops while he was intoxicated, they knew he wasn't armed. The conversation had went on for about 22 minutes. And then for the officer to say, I got him, like that to me,
And a taser doesn't kill people. So even if he would have ran away and then the cops chased him down and then the man turned around and tried to tase the cop's not dying in most cases, because you got to think there are some folks that have
or
that some can die with the heart. Yeah, with the heart they can die. So I'm not
but
excusing that, but I'm just saying a gun though, an actual weapon, a
yes,
weapon that killed this man and murdered this man. Yeah, there are people saying that it was justified. And I don't know, like that's kind of goes back to my story that I gave on Dylan, where he's just like,
Yeah.
I'm the overriding the favoritism and using evidence and reason rather than what feels good.
What they say, and so what I
Rather
think
than Mhm.
they say is justified if that was their mother, father, brother, or sister, and that would be very telling of
That's what I that's yes.
yeah,
Yes. That's what I'm saying. If it was his family member that was running, or if it was somebody he knew personally, would you have murdered him?
right.
Would you have even shot him or her? So that's the reason why I feel like with Dylan, he was just saying, I'm neutral when it comes to that. I'm not treating one person different. Everybody's getting treated the same because I'm not going to give anybody room to feel that they're treated any differently. Um,
I
yes,
mean,
do I love?
I was coming from the perspective of people who were saying it's justified because to me, as long as people, this is why
What?
I say,
How did they say it was justified? What did they say? What was their reasoning? They
because
didn't provide one.
he ran and he wasn't compliant. So they think this is justified because the reason why I'm coming from that angle is because in navigating Egypt, the focus that I'm really talking about is the fact that Egypt they call good evil and they call evil good. And so when you follow the pact of Egypt and the way that Egypt operates, it's off, it's wrong. And so whereas everyone may be saying what everyone says is justified is unjustified in Egypt. What everyone says is right in Egypt is wrong in God's eyes. And that's all I'm trying to that's really what I'm trying to establish in that now is not the time to be going along with the pact, but now's the time to figure out your convictions as a human being. Like what is good and where's your foundation of what you decide what is good? Where does that come from? The fruit and what you call good, does it bear fruit? Does it affect, like so going this tie perfectly ties into what you're talking about because it's like if what you do is good and what you believe is good and what your foundation of what you would call good is actually good, then it should have some fruit, right? It should affect multiple people. It should bring together unity and harmony. And I think in Egypt though, we have tokenism. We have people who look like us who deny systemic racism, who have experienced systemic racism. You know, Egypt. Think about Egypt is just oh my God, Egypt is just like America when you think about it. Because when you think about how America, Dred Scott versus Sanford, black, and I think what we see today is are the seeds of what has been planted long ago that we refuse to uproot, and that is the seeds of Egypt in a sense of slavery happened there, slavery happened here. Here's your rights. Pharaoh said, I'm gonna let y'all go. Remember, Pharaoh was like, okay, I'm gonna let y'all go, but he didn't say I'm gonna let y'all go until after the plagues. Then after the plagues came, okay, I'm gonna let y'all go now. But then after he let them go, what he do? Pursued them to kill them, right? Pursued them to kill, and what he do before that? Before all of that happened, um, Pharaoh set out to have all the midwives kill the males, kill all the baby boys because of fear. So tell me, when we look at Egypt, if America is Egypt, look at the similarities, biblically speaking, historically speaking, actually speaking. There's a ton of similarities, and when we look at this picture, the only way for everyone to be restored is for them to do the right thing by everyone, right? Take care
Everyone.
of your people.
That's why these protests are happening because not everybody is being treated the same.
No
There,
one,
there's so many people. There's so many people that are not being treated the same, and that's the reason why I wanted to grab upon this topic because Dylan is basically saying, "I'm neutral. I'm not gonna look at one person just because you my family, just because you my friend. I'm gonna treat y'all differently. No, everybody getting treated the same because then there's no room for discrimination."
mm-hmm.
If everyone is treated the same. There's no room for someone to feel like they're left out or they're not included and that's what Dylan's message is. That's why he said he donates to charities that benefit multiple groups of people. He does not give to just one So that's like just giving just to autism only. Only people with autism is going to get my money.
Right.
No, there's other stuff going on. There's other groups of people that are going. So I got to give to a charity that's going to benefit multiple types of folks. Because if I just only take care of people with autism, then what about the rest of them? So for him, that's why he donates to various groups. And I tie it to the protest because there is special treatment going on with like the white privilege and all that stuff, all that's out there. So the Black Lives Matter movement is saying, and these protests are
Yep.
happening because there's a difference of treatment going on. And that goes back to the doctor's story where she's getting VIP treatment because she's a professor. So
Right.
that ER doctor was like, "Oh, I did the right thing. I helped out a colleague and da da." But no, you just helped her. But are you going to help the other ones? The ones that, and I'm talking about the ones that don't even know about the VIP treatment.
Yep.
The ones that don't know about that hand specialist that specializes. The ones that don't know about it. They don't know anything about it.
Yep.
They don't know nothing about it. So it's interesting because I'm not, and that's why I said I don't want to target a certain race of people. I don't want to target groups of people because I know that I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of myself. I'm guilty of treating my friends better than somebody that they're my neighbor. I don't know you like that neighbor. Like I'm not gonna be giving you, but is that right? Is that more? Is that morally right?
Mm. Let's switch gears. Okay. So with something we talked about um yesterday was in navigating Egypt, right? One of the things that Moses did, Moses rejected being called the son of Pharaoh. Think about Moses. He was hid. He was hid, right? For 3 months. Then, his mama sailed him down the river his life could be spared and so he could be hidden, right? So then he grew up and he had all these privileges. But what Moses made the decision to do was denounce all of the privileges that came with it and and choose, basically, in essence, choose God over the wealth of Egypt. He had access to the wealth of Egypt, but he associated himself, think about this, he associated himself with the oppressed. He didn't have to, though. He did not have to, but he associated himself with the oppressed. And so one thing that we talked about yesterday, because I don't, it's not my words, because you just said, I'm not singling people out, but spiritually and biblically speaking, I can't talk. God does, the Most High does, when He says, "To whom much is given, what
Much is required.
much is required." So one of the things we talked about yesterday when we talked about Black celebrities, and I was listening to Bishop Noel Jones, so I got to give credit to where credit is due. And he said, he was like, "Where are the Moseses of this generation? We're looking for leadership." And he said, "Let me tell you what happened. What happened is the Moseses have fallen in love with luxury. They have fallen in love with their status, and so much so that they have forgot about anyone else and the responsibility to make way for other people. Because we start talking about Ti, we start talking about Beyonce, we start talking about all the people who really have the resources who could fund political campaigns. Because you and I know we can say all day long that people are elected, but I would say that people are selected. Because if you can't raise the money, you're not going to win the office. If there's not big money backing you, even if it's from grassroots to super PACs, if the money's not behind you, you're not going to win an election. So in order to be able to run, the qualification is money. So the people who could represent us and have restorative things, people will always want to talk about Black folks and the economy. Well, guess what? You have to navigate Egypt. You have to decide, all of them need to decide that they don't love their status more or their money more than actually doing some good and not just popping up every once in a while, you know,
Mm-hmm.
making a statement, but actually putting this into action. You know,
Mm-hmm.
who I believe is totally 100% responsible for that is anybody who says they're a believer in the gospel. They should be doing it. I'm calling out the T.D. Jakes, the Paula Whites, the people who say the Benny Hinn's, the Bishop Bernard Jordans, the prophets, the people who have the knowledge got the answer because it's all in the scripture on how to navigate Egypt. Because Moses he was in the palace, just like Joseph was, right? But look at why Joseph was in the palace. Joseph was in Potiphar's house. He was number two in the kingdom, but really number one because God put him there. Guess why he put him there though? Tell me, can you help me preach? Why did Yahuwah allow Joseph to be sold into slavery not once, but twice?
Mm-hmm.
Have him framed by Potiphar's wife who lied because Joseph was good looking, I guess. The Bible said Joseph was good looking. Potiphar wanted some of that, and she didn't. He was not going to do that. He refrained and was honorable. He was thrown in jail. Then his supernatural gift to interpret dreams landed him back up in the number two spot. Now, why, why did Yahuwah allow all that to happen to him? These unfortunate things. Do you know why? To save Israel. To save Israel. Because remember, he told Potiphar the 7 years of famine and the 7 years of plenty, and then his family was able to come and get grain. And remember, Joseph was mad. So God even helped Joseph's heart. Not a like, don't be mad at your brothers, because look at where you are now. Like it was me who designed all this now. Because his brothers didn't recognize him at first, and he was a bit disguised. So what I'm saying is the things, if we're going to navigate Egypt, we have to understand the positions that we hold, whether we're sergeant first classes or sergeant majors. Guess what? That, or whether we're CEOs or pastors or we're janitors, whatever we do and wherever we are in Egypt, it's ordained by him. And if you're a Beyonce or if you're T.I. and you got millions and you made millions off of the backs of your own people, pushing them to certain directions, pushing them to certain things, glorifying certain behaviors, telling people to trap or die, telling your own people, and you benefited from that, and now when when are they going to have a true awakening and actually put these things into action? Not just be a spokesperson. Me and you, we the spokespeople, and at the community level, we are, doing what we can. This is something that we can do at the community level. I don't want to demean anybody who's speaking out though. So I know I'm saying what I'm saying, but anybody speaking up about unrighteousness or injustices, more power. I appreciate anybody doing that. But if you have the power to do so much more and to actually mobilize, then mobilize. Mobilize. Because only then are you navigating Egypt instead of living in Egypt. And Steve, I'll wrap up by saying this. Yahuwah took his people through Egypt to the promised land. He took them through Egypt. We're just passing through. We're just passing through this system. We're passing through the system, but even within the system, we can maintain our righteousness. So that's what it means to navigate Egypt, to pray and to be submitted. And Moses, like if you really look at Moses and you study his relationship with Yahuwah, you might think Moses, just at superficial glance, you might think Moses was disrespectful to Yah. Because Moses said what he needed to say. Like, God, how am I gonna do all this? I'm not eloquent with speech. He was like, God, why did you send me to these people like I birthed them? These people up in here complaining, why are you giving me this burden? It's too heavy. It's too much. Like how we feel sometimes living in Egypt, right? It's too heavy. It's too much. So you know what God said? Moses, bring the elders. I think it was 15 or 16. He said, bring 15 or 16 elders, and I will give some of the burden that you had to them. And then guess what? Everybody wanted to be like Moses at one point in Israel. Everybody wanted to have that connection. Everybody wanted to be the leader. And so God was like, okay, guess what? I'm going to build basically a partition. Since we're talking about Beyonce, a partition. And if anybody go past that partition, guess what would happen to them? They will fall dead. Because God chooses who he chooses. And he puts the responsibility on that person. And it's up to us to be like Moses and navigate through Egypt. We're just passing through. Don't get stuck here. Navigating through Egypt also means when you look at the Israelites, it took a whole generation to get Egypt out of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get Egypt out of us and stop being so reactive to everything happening because it's been happening for a long time. And that doesn't mean don't speak up for unrighteousness. It doesn't mean don't speak about injustices. What it means is we have to react differently. And I'm preaching to myself. Having an expectation that a righteous system that was birthed through inequity, inequality, and denying our people rights, at what point are we crazy for thinking that it's going to represent that? And what happens if it doesn't represent that ever? What are we going to do? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I endeavor, and my prayer for everyone this week, and you, Andre, and myself, and everybody that we know, and everybody that listens to this broadcast, is that we learn how to navigate Egypt and purge Egypt out of us. The powers that be that will call evil good and good evil, because it's happening every time we turn on the news. Like, think about the words they use, the deadly shooting of. No, this was a murder. Like, you want to call it something else, but this was murder. You know, we see racist politicians, and they don't want to call. They want to. Oh, he was joking. Oh, she didn't mean what she said. You want to call it something else, but that's racism. And then they get people who look like us, who want to say these other things, but no, you don't get to change the definition of what this is. So remembering to have the foundation, even if we're rich, even if we have access in Egypt, to understand that we're passing through. Because I'm not living under a curse. Andre, are you living under a curse? Because the scripture, my last point is this. He said, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then shall I hear from heaven and heal their land. I've done that. That's why I'm not living under a curse. Andre, you've done that. That's why you're not living under a curse. That's why there's other people who are like us who are not living under a curse. And to any black, brown person who feels that maybe their melanin is a curse should understand that guess how resilient we are. And this is for real, my last point. My last point is this. 1865, slavery abolished. 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma riots. There was a Black Wall Street. Between 1865, when slavery was abolished, and 1921, there was a Black Wall Street. Now, I know we can get into different dynamics of North and South and, where blacks were treated equally or better and stuff like that. But just look at the amount of wealth that was amassed in, I don't know, I can't do math, but 40 years,
Me neither.
40, 60 years, not even 60 years after slavery. Not even
Mm-hmm.
60 years after slavery, there was a Black Wall Street where our people were doing great in this country, where our people did so-called pull themselves up by the bootstraps, which shows a testament to the resiliency of who we are and tells us who we are biblically. That you cannot stop with what Yah has blessed. No matter what kind of plagues they try to put on us, no matter what diseases they try to put in our food, no matter how they plot on us or put crack cocaine to our neighborhoods, or try to put us all in jail, or try to legalize weed in the white areas, but make sure it's not legalized in the black areas, or over police or murder, or whatever they try to do to us, we are still a resilient people because guess what? We're just passing through Egypt. And just like they couldn't kill all the Israelites in Egypt back then, and they continue to number and grow, regardless of slavery, regardless of Planned Parenthood, regardless of Margaret Sanger, regardless of all these things, our people continue to grow and continue to be blessed and continue to be resilient. This is how we purge Egypt out of us. This is how we navigate through Egypt. By understanding we're just passing through. And that we don't have to get down or lay down with the customs here. And by that, I mean being a Candace Owens and demeaning other people who look like you. And by that, I mean giving into the ideas of what is said about us or accepting the identity. I mean, how many more damn slave movies do we have to make?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? This is how we navigate Egypt. By understanding what is good, and what is good comes from God. And understanding what is evil, and we should speak up about it. And the people who have the resources and the power and the influence have the responsibility. It's been placed upon them. Remember that video? I know you know this video where Beyonce was like, "Why me, God?" I know you've seen it. You've seen it. Remember, why do I have all this? This is why you have all of this. So you can speak to Egypt. So you can tell Pharaoh to let my people go. So you can be people that are behind the reforms. And actually, you ain't even got to do it. We don't need a celebrity to be the face of it. Just be the person behind it pushing it. Just be the person behind it funding it. It can all be in secret. There's somebody like you and me. There's activists. They can fund one of us to be the face of it, and it not even be attached to them. But I think the truth of the matter is, and for I know I done closed like 5 times, but for real on this statement, the truth of the matter is, when you're rich in Egypt, you belong to Pharaoh. In Egypt, you either belong to Pharaoh or you belong to God. And the truth of the matter is, they don't own that money, and they're not willing to sacrifice all their wealth or their endorsements. Look at Colin Kaepernick. They're not willing to go through what Colin Kaepernick has gone through and to lose millions. But how many more millions do you need in a temporal world? Everything we can touch is temporal, and it's going to go back to the dust and it's going to burn up. So I know I'm crazy, but that's what I felt within me. And I think it's time that we actually navigate Egypt and stop trying to figure out how do we fit in, because I don't know if the system is ever going to be equitable for all of us. I hope and pray, but Yahuwah never promised us that. He said, if they persecuted me and hated me, what do you think is going to happen to you? He said, surely you will have troubles and tribulation. Does that always mean that it's going to be racism and prejudice? Not necessarily, but it could be something else. What it means is that we need to be like Moses, and we need to understand who our leaders are and shut everyone else off. Everybody knew, the Israelites knew Moses was the chosen leader. That Moses, they knew it. And Aaron and the elders, and they all worked together, and they knew that they could see. Moses went up to the mount, burning bush. They saw the glow on his face. They could see that he had time with God. We need to follow the people who have the glow on their face, who have been spending time with God, because that's the only way we're going to be free. The Birth of a Nation. Have you seen that movie, Birth of a Nation?
I have not.
In Birth of a Nation, there's a clip, and I think it's my last comment for real, even though I said that 50 times, so I don't know. But the Birth of a Nation.
You go ahead and flow the way you need to flow, Brandon.
Man, I wanted you to say that. Thank you. Birth of a Nation. There was a clip, and it was a white lady, and I think it was the young Nat Turner at the time, and she hands him this book, and I don't know if she said it was the Bible, I can't remember, but to me, it was spiritually saying that it was the Bible. And she was like, there's many books, but this book is for you. And she handed him that book. And to me, like, my spirit just like awakened to realize that there's no amount. What's up, Andre, Alex, Gino, and Simeon came in. Um, but no amount of wealth is going to get us to where we need to be. He gave us the recipe, and it's in that Second Chronicles 7:14, what I just spouted off earlier. If my people who are called by my name, our identity is what will free us. Because guess what? In Egypt, Moses didn't care so much about his life that he wasn't afraid to protect his countrymen. We got some people, these rich black, celebrities are so afraid of protecting and helping someone else. Isn't that what we talk about? There comes a point in time where you do have to step in and you do have to say something. And I just pray that I'm ready. I mean, I believe we're doing it now, but there may come a time where, I'm moving to Maryland. The population is different. There's different demographics. There may be a situation in which I see a possible George Floyd situation, and what will I do? How will I react?
Yeah, because we could say what we would do, but what would we really do when we're in it?
Yes, and I think that if we start, the time is to prepare now and to purge our systems of Egypt. Because if we understand that eternal life is after this, and we're just passing through, then how much does life really matter. If I live, I get to be with Christ and I get to have him flow through me and I get to minister and I get to have healing in my body, healing flow to you. You know, I get to speak things. And if I die, then I get to go be with him.
You
So it's
do.
a win-win situation if I really believe. So now, you know, it's the time to make the decision because we're not promised tomorrow either, are we? We can get
No.
pulled over tonight and it'd be a cop's bad day and we'll be gone. And I know it's heavy, but if we don't face it head on, then we can't make the decision that we're going to pass through.
Well, that's what the protests are doing.
It's
But that's what the protests are doing, and everyone needs to wake up. And I'm gonna even say this to add a little bit because I'm not gonna go as long as you. But what I wanted to add to what you were saying is black people,
mm-hmm.
minority people, people of minority race need to not take the time to try to please, or I'm trying to word it in the way I want to word it that makes sense. I don't want anybody that is black or in the minorities to suck up to the majority. Because there's people, as you stated, like Candace Owens, that is just
Yeah.
like basically going with the majority and is looking like a fool right now. And it saddens me, and it kind of goes back, but it goes back to what I said about one of my friends that posted a joke about posting the black square on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
where you want to get a reaction out of, um, I'm gonna say racist white people because I don't want to say all white people. So let me, I gotta say that and separate, where you make a joke about someone posting a black square on Blackout Tuesday, but you're refusing to understand what these protests are about and refusing to understand what Black Lives Matter is really about. And that saddens me. It really saddens me because um, there's a lot of folks that are turning a blind eye to what's really going on and what those protests really mean. I even saw a post, and I was shocked, where it was like, "Oh yeah, you can protest. It's stupid, but it's legal." I saw somebody post that on my Facebook. Oh yeah, you can protest. I think it's stupid, but it's legal. So you can, I guess, protesting is fine. And I'm like, wow. So you're really, really saying that right now, and are you really understanding why the protests are even happening? Are you understanding what it's saying, what the message is behind the protest, or are you being judgmental and saying like you wasting your time doing a protest because ain't nothing gonna change? What are you really saying? And it bothers me. It bothers me, and I see the post and I'm like, ooh, wow, people are really starting to show their true colors, and I all I do is just sit back. I just sit back and watch, and that's why me and Brandon do these lives, because doing these live shows, um, uh, I don't mind calling somebody out, calling
Mm-hmm.
them out and saying, yeah, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this. And these are people that I'm friends with and that I love, and I don't love them any differently than anybody else. But it's like, wow, like it's time for those folks to open up their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and not turn their eye on what's really going on in the world right now, when it comes to police brutality and the murders that's going on.
Hey, Matthew Conti, just joined. I have a question for you. Have you noticed that where we are right now, you know, and to me, this is why it relates to navigating Egypt. You got to choose who you're gonna be. You're gonna be an Israelite or you're gonna be with Egypt. You got to choose who you're gonna be. Have you not noticed that everyone is having to choose? Like you don't get to be on the sidelines right now. You don't get to say, "Oh, I don't have an opinion about protests." Think about it. Have you noticed that?
Uh,
You're either for or you're against. Like
yeah,
it,
and that's why I'm so glad that other countries are protesting. There's other countries throughout the world that are protesting. So it's like, wow, that's powerful. There's so much power in protest, but there are people that think that protests are stupid. I
yes.
have friends that think the protests are stupid. And it saddens me that there are people that think the protests are stupid. Um, and yeah, I agree with you. I think that there is in this time,
Hmm.
yes, you either are for it and understand what it's for, or you say like what one of my friends said, protests are legal, but they're stupid. So um, yeah, and I mean, I don't feel that the person that said the protests are legal but it's stupid means, even though they may not mean any harm, there's so much harm in that statement. There is so much pain in that statement, seeing it, because they may not even have meant anything. They may not have meant nothing by it. They may not have meant to be negative or disrespectful or rude or anything. It just could be the lack of knowledge, the lack of even trying to educate yourself and educate the reason why the black square was posted for Blackout Tuesday. Like there's so much going on, and folks are really just refusing to learn. And that's the part that scares me when it comes to certain people. They're refusing to really see. And if you're really refusing to see, shame on you.
Yeah. I think another thing happening spiritually is there's an attempt. There's an attempt to keep everyone in trauma and to keep everyone in fear. So you got the pandemic
Or
going
to
on.
be divisive, or to be divisive.
Ultimately, yes, because if you divide, then you have control. I mean, that's scriptural 101, right? A house divided against itself cannot stand. You can't serve two masters. So in Egypt, you gotta, are you serving Pharaoh or are you serving God? And because if you're serving God, you look a certain way. You don't, you don't, you don't follow the same path. You don't respond to everything the same way when you're serving God. When you're serving Pharaoh, you look a certain way. You respond a certain way. And, it's so interesting to me that on one side, they talk about emotions as if human emotions are a bad thing and like facts over feelings and all the people who say all of that. But isn't it funny? Because to me, for your friend to post that means that he posted or she posted this out of ignorance and of what resonated with their feelings, not the facts, not history, not what the protests say
You
there were.
just said what I was gonna. You just said what I was gonna say. Basically, the moral choice versus logic.
Yeah.
Logic has evidence and reason, and if you're not willing to see the evidence and the reasoning for the
Hmm.
protest, and you're only looking at it based on what you feel is stupid or what you feel is dumb, then you're choosing not to learn.
Yeah.
So it
And
goes more than just ignorance. You're refusing
yeah,
to know the reason
yes,
behind the protest. So it's like,
yeah,
wow, it's interesting to me.
yeah. And at that point, I wonder, I question someone's humanity, and I feel like that person is clearly serving Egypt. Like, I mean, I could squeeze that, I could preach on that till the sun rises tomorrow. Because when you think about it, think about how dangerous Pharaoh was. Pharaoh was so dangerous that even after the plague, like you got hate and racism in your heart so and fear in your heart so bad that you would be willing to destroy your own kingdom, everything that you had, all your possessions. Think about that. He hated the Israelites so much. He went against God's people so much that the plagues came, right? And then even after the plagues came, okay, I'll let y'all go because his stuff was getting destroyed. But even after that, he didn't think y'all was gonna come through. He didn't
Hmm.
think he would deliver his people. If God sent all these plagues, you didn't think you was gonna be destroyed after all the miracles that he saw, after all the resiliency that is has been seen by us in America. People still telling us to go back to our own country, the country that we built. Hold up, wait. Like,
Hmm. And just so y'all know, y'all need to y'all can engage us too now, because it's been quiet today. Unless y'all sleep or y'all just don't feel like talking today, but y'all can join in and say something to us too, because we're doing a lot of talking. And I'm used to moderating, and I'm used to reading some comments. So y'all are more than welcome to join in and just give us your 2 cents. Alex, yes, I'm singling out Alex because I know that he has some nice stuff to say, and I know that he's watching this live. So, but yes,
Oh, and we should add to that, if you watch this afterwards, it's please leave your
Comment
comment.
on that too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I definitely go through and like it and respond to people sometimes. Most of the time I do. So please, if you watch this and you have something to add to the conversation, because we could always bring it up next week as well. But
Yeah, I think that that was a very deep. This has been a very deep episode. I didn't expect it to be that deep, but we did go there, and I appreciate it that we went there. And we was a little bit of bobbleheads, like you said before. We been bobbing our heads, bobbles, whatever, um, I know you had a lot of closing remarks, but do you have an additional closing remark before we go? Because it's already 9 my time and 6 your time. So,
no, I mean just to connect to your humanity and remember what we said here today and know that we are praying for you and that the truth is always uplifting and edifying even if it don't sound good because the truth is always something that could be your foundation in which you can build on having joy. And so the same way I flipped it when I talked about 1865 slavery, horrible atrocities and stuff, but then within 60 years there was a Black Wall Street. Like we are a resilient people. Humans are resilient people, and we as Black Americans are resilient people. And we're not gonna stop. And I think we should also look at the fact that look at all the people protesting. It is Americans, it's people in other countries, all races, demographics, because people are starting to realize that this is a problem, not just a Black problem, but it's a problem for American citizens. And guess what? It's a global problem. There's other countries that have the same problem with policing. There's other countries where these same things have happened and people have protested as well. And so I just want to challenge you to navigate Egypt and to connect to your higher power, the creator, however you address, what you believe and connect to that and stop following the pack on what they say is good or what you should believe, or stop believing those people who say, oh, we don't know what happened outside the video. There's enough information on these videos to show that it's murder, especially, and find a baseline. I always love to find a baseline. That does include my emotions, it does include my morals, but it also includes logic. And the logic is, with these videos that we've been seeing recently, and with the just use the Wendy's shooting. If that was your relative, would you say that was a justified shooting? They have this man's information. They can get him at a later date. Um, when you look at these things, there's nothing else that we need to know about George Floyd's murder to know that that's a murder. There's nothing else that we need to know about Ahmaud Arbery. There's nothing that justifies what we see on the tape. And so to come from a place of humanity and to navigate Egypt, because in Egypt, everything is evil except you if you decide not to be.
okay, you better. So I'm gonna end it on this note, since you ended it like that and throwing punches at us. Um, I challenge you all to talk to the individuals because I'm probably going to be addressing the individual that said that protests are stupid but legal. I'm probably going to be addressing that individual and actually asking them what they meant by that statement. But I challenge you all to further emphasize to those individuals that do not know why protests are happening or that don't know, and let them know the reasoning behind it. Because if the person that I'm speaking about is saying protests are stupid, that means you're talking to thousands and thousands of other people in other countries that are doing the same protest. You're not just talking to Americans now. You're talking to folks in other countries. So their protests are stupid too? Is that
No.
what you're saying? So you're saying that them protesting is stupid as well? So for me, I'm going to put my foot forward, and I'm going to probably be addressing that person. And yeah, I may or may not update y'all on how that goes, but
But
I'm going to do that because I and I'm gonna do it respectful. I'm not gonna be checking him or anything like that. It's gonna be more, I saw a post you made, and I saw, just wanting to know, like what's going on in that brain of yours for you to say that. I see Lewis is online. Hey, poor, I see Mr. Sanchez. But yeah, I definitely am going to challenge myself to and I challenge you all. If you see something that's great and you feel that that friend of yours is a reasonable person and they're a sensible person and they're not out here just being like blatantly racist, well, just go up to them and just be like, hey, I saw your post, and what was the reason behind that post? Now, if you know that they're going to be combative, now then you got to make sure you analyze that and figure that out, because then at the end of the day, you don't want to be losing your mind on somebody that because I said it before a few episodes back. It's very hard and almost impossible to talk to somebody that is not willing to hear you out. If they're going to be combative with you, and you know that there's not going to be a resolve, then you don't want to waste your time with that. But there are folks that are just ignorant, like Brandon said, that are ignorant to what's going on, and all they need is some education, and they just need to know what's going on. And if you know that they'll receive it well, then it will be a good and successful conversation where they'll be able to hear you out. And that's all. And like I said, if you don't feel comfortable in doing it, I'm not forcing it. I'm not trying to force you all, but it would benefit if that happened, because like I said, I'm gonna challenge myself to go to that individual that made that post, because I feel that there's ignorance behind a post when that person says, oh, protests are legal, but they're stupid.
Yeah. Hmm. I like it.
So that was it. So with that being said, that concludes our Biblitical show.
Hmm.
We thank you for tuning in, and like Brandon said, if you watch this live, where after we've already been done, please leave comments. I do read them. So yeah, I'm just thankful for you all. I'm thankful that you all take the time to listen. Brandon and I are thankful that you take the time to listen. We were late today because one of my homegirls bought a new vehicle, and I was with her at the dealership. Yeah, I'm putting my business out there. I was with her at the dealership all day, and we didn't realize that she was actually going to buy a car, but she did.
What did she get?
So my friend Maria, I'm putting her business out there. Don't kill me, Maria. But we went to the Lexus dealership, and she bought an ES300 Lexus. Um,
Yes.
so yes, I was with her through the whole process. Test drove it. She just thought she was going to test drive it and then leave, but the dealer that we had was amazing. He was very patient, very nice, and between my knowledge of Lexus, because I own one as well, and with her, I motivated her to get the Lexus, and I got a gift because I referred her from the dealership. So everything came out good, and she's enjoying her vehicle. And yeah, so we were there for longer, so we were late today. Brandon, I think we are going to try to go on in the middle of the week this week coming up. So we may be popping up between Monday and Thursday this week to say hello to you all and get some more viewers to come in, because we do come on Sundays where most people are with families and stuff like that. We're actually probably getting ready for bed at this point over here on the East Coast. But yeah, we're going to try to get on in the middle of the week sometime this week. So we may be on here to just, and we won't have a topic or anything like that. We'll just get on just to say hi. If anything in the news is happening that day or whatever, we'll probably talk about that a little bit. But yeah, we thank you for watching, and until next time, we will be back for a good old Biblitical show.
Amen.
All right. Well, y'all have a great one.
A good one. Talk to you
All
later.
right. All right, Brandon. Bye.